And now here's Rick Casey with tonight's Last Word.
If the scuttlebutt around the San Antonio federal courthouse is correct, U.S. District Judge Xavier Rodriguez may be a candidate for a profile in courage if anyone decides to write another book like President John Kennedy's. Rodriguez was the key vote on a three-judge panel that drastically revised the new electoral maps passed by the overwhelmingly Republican Texas legislature. Population growth in Texas has been so strong over the past 10 years that Texas was awarded 4 new seats in the House of Representatives. Nearly all of the population growth came from a net increase in Hispanic Texans, yet the congressional map produced by the legislature arguably did not add a single Hispanic to the Texas delegation. It was a classic case of gerrymandering, a long-standing tradition in Texas. Back in 2001, the Democrat-controlled legislature produced a map that elected 17 Democrats and 15 Republicans to Congress, despite the fact that Texas had clearly turned strongly Republican. In 2003, Republicans won control of the legislature and took the extraordinary step of redrawing the lines mid-decade. That map radically altered the Texas delegation, flipping it to an almost two-thirds Republican majority, 21-12. That has since increased to 23 Republicans in the 32-member delegation. Let's say the congressional map produced by the legislature had added 3 more Republicans, a reasonable prospect. That would have kept the delegation at its current percentage of 72% Republican. But the 3-judge panel found the map violated the Voting Rights Act. The map the panel drew could add 4 new Democratic seats or even more. If it did swing the delegation toward the Democrats by 4 seats, Republicans would still hold 61% of the seats. 5 new Democrats would mean a 58% Republican majority. What would be reasonable? Well, in recent high-profile contested races, Governor Perry beat Democrat Bill White with 55% of the vote last year. In the last presidential race, Republican John McCain took 55% of Texas. That same year, Republican Senator John Cornyn won, you guessed it, 55% of the vote. So the map drawn by the 3-judge panel is hardly radical. It just likely would make the delegation look more like Texas. So why am I suggesting Judge Rodriguez may be a profile in courage? Rodriguez is a Republican, appointed to this panel by Judge Edith Jones, the ultra-conservative chief judge of the 5th U.S. Circuit, and not incidentally, former chief counsel for the Republican Party of Texas. Rodriguez joined San Antonio federal judge Orlando Garcia, a Democrat and a former state legislator in whose court the case was filed. The 3rd member, appointed by Chief Judge Jones, is 5th Circuit Appeals Judge Jerry Smith, a conservative Republican from Houston. Judge Xavier Rodriguez appears to have been the swing vote on this panel. Now, it was understood around the courthouse that Judge Rodriguez hoped someday to be promoted to the 5th Circuit Court of Appeals. The San Antonio Federal Courthouse has been a fertile source for such advancement by Hispanic Republicans, with Judges Ed Prado and Emilio Garza already having received that promotion. But now, with Republican leaders angrily proclaiming the new map to be the product of activist judges and appealing it to the U.S. Supreme Court, any chance Rodriguez had of advancement is almost certainly gone. If Rodriguez did harbor that ambition, he is indeed a profile in courage. And that's it for Texas Week. See you next time.